Why play Sejuani Jungle? Well, she has very strong ganks. For a tank, her damage is amazing, she brings a ton of lockdown, and she is monstrously tanky. However, her early game isn't as strong as other junglers, so she can get counter-jungled or simply outvalued in the early game, and she is weaker without other melee champions to help her proc her E. Sejuani's passive is after not taking damage for a small amount of time, she becomes immune to slows and gains bonus armor and magic resist, and this lasts for 3 seconds after taking damage from champions or monsters. Her second passive is enemies stunned by her are marked, and her next basic attack or ability consumes this mark to deal bonus damage. Sejuani's Q causes her to dash in a straight line, and if she hits an enemy champion, she deals damage to them and knocks them up. In addition, she can cast any of her abilities while dashing. Sejuani's W has 2 parts to it. The first is a cone skill shot which deals damage to enemies and knocks back minions and monsters hit. The second part is a straight line skill shot where she lashes out with her flail, dealing damage to all enemies hit and briefly slowing them. In addition, this applies a stack of her E passive with each ability. Sejuani's E has a passive for both her and nearby melee allies, can apply stacks of frost when they attack an enemy champion or monster. The active can only be used against enemies who have 4 stacks of this passive, and when used, it is a point and click ability which stuns the enemy and deals damage. In addition, this ability is also an auto attack reset. Sejuani's ultimate is a straight line skill shot which stops upon hitting an enemy, dealing damage and stunning them. If this travels over 400 units, it's empowered, dealing more damage and stunning for longer. And if it's traveled this extra distance, upon detonating, it creates a larger circular area which slows enemies and grants sight of the area. After a short delay, the circle shatters, dealing damage to and massively slowing all enemies hit. For combos, your basic engage combo is to use Q and then use W while dashing. Follow up with 2 auto attacks into your E, followed up with another auto. And a great all-in combo is to use Q into your ultimate, following up with an auto attack. Continue by using your W into more auto attacks, using E on anyone else you can. For matchups, Sej does great into high mobility junglers, where she can easily lock them down for her team to follow up. However, she can struggle against junglers who easily tear through tanks. For runes, take this, Aftershock gives you amazing engage. For build orders, start Green Monster and Pot into Heart Steel and Tier 2 boots. After this, a Sunfire, Thorn Mail and Force of Nature are all great pickups depending on what you need, and then finish your build with any of these depending on what you need to defend yourself against. For skill orders, start E then W then Q before maxing W then Q then E, taking ult whenever you can. For summoner spells, take Flash and Smite. Starting the game, you have several options for your jungle clear. Firstly, as your clear is amazing, going for a full jungle clear into contesting Scuttle is incredibly viable. Between the speed you complete your clear with and how healthy you are after doing so, you will always be ready to fight for this objective. After this, you can either back and do another clear or look for a gank. When looking for a gank, always consider the 3 main points of what CC does your team bring, what escapes does the enemy have, and where is the lane push to. When looking to gank, if you're able to walk up to them and use W, you'll be in an incredibly strong position, as saving your Q means that if they flash or dash away themselves, you can easily follow them down and have massive kill threat. Otherwise, if you're not going to be able to get in range without Q, simply go in with Q, knock them up and get your damage in. Other than the full clear though, she can also go for a quick double buff and 1 camp for a quick level 3. This allows her to get a cheese gank in if needed. Entering the mid game, you bring a massive amount of CC to look for picks. Ward aggressively, look for picks, and turn them into objectives. Entering late game team fights, you want to be your team's engaged, picking the best fights for your team. You'll often start a fight with a Q into ultimate or ultimate into a Q for a massive amount of lockdown and great damage. Use your W on something important and spam out your E on as many champions as possible, being the tanky frontline.